every platform has its own pros and cons. But I will say, it's not like, okay, BigCommerce is always a winner. But the idea is like, listen to, go through your requirements, in more detail, like what you want.
Welcome to Honest E-Commerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Honest E-Commerce. Today, I am finally doing it. I'm having someone from the other side of the BigCommerce versus Shopify fight on the podcast. Amandeep, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
I'm so excited to chat. So not only are you a BigCommerce expert, but you actually founded BigC Experts. You're also the founder of Cronix. You've been in this industry for more than 14 years. I feel like you're going to be a wealth of knowledge to communicate the pros and maybe cons of BigCommerce. I'm going to come into this with an open mind, and I'm here to learn. I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I have been working with BigCommerce and also within this e-commerce industry for around 14 years now. And so yeah, I started with the BigCommerce journey, like when they were on Interspire, and then how they went to Classic Next to Blueprint, and then like a Stencil, and now they're making move to go to Catalyst. So yeah, I've been working with BigCommerce for quite a while. Yep.
Absolutely. When do you remember what year it was when you kind of stumbled into BigCommerce and started to use that technology to solve problems for your customers?
Yeah, I think it started in 2011 within BigCommerce. And then I built my first website in there in 2011 and did a lot of migration. So yeah, it's quite a while now, definitely.
Now, were you using BigCommerce before you had even heard of Shopify?
Well, actually, I think my first e-commerce website was in WooCommerce, and then like OS Commerce, Xcard, and everything. Like these were my first platforms to work with. And then the trend was going with the SaaS. And then, the BigCommerce was the first one. And then I did stumble on Shopify as well. Shopify wasn't as advanced as it is now, but yeah, it was definitely, interesting.
That's amazing. Now, talk to me a bit about BigC Experts. What is that?
So basically, what is happening is, there is a lot of community for Shopify developers, right? It's easy to find Shopify developers. The process to learn Shopify is a bit more easier. But it's hard to find BigCommerce expert developers, and especially, who have good experience with the Stencil, Handlebars, API, Storefront, API, etc. So what I do is, I have spent, I mentor a lot of developers and, project managers throughout my career. So every 6 months, I do, create a batch of developers and the project managers. It's 10 to 15. So I provide them training on a BigCommerce platform, the development tooling as well, and provide them a pretty extensive training on the EDA compliance, accessibility, the page speed, core web vitals, and like semantics. So just provide them pretty extensive training so that let's say if other agencies or brands are looking for a BigCommerce developer for in-house kind of stuff, so I provide them those dedicated developers. Its concept is like a very deal.com, like where I handle the finances, where I handle the taxes, compliance, and everything, and then the developer working directly with them. And so they interview them, and then that's where, if they feel like that's a good fit, they can hire them, and I just take care of the legality part, and then that's their developer. Yeah.
That's amazing. So not only are you yourself an expert, but you're also paying it forward. You're creating careers and jobs for other e-commerce experts out there, specifically with BigCommerce being the one that you're teaching people to do this stuff. I can even tell you, I don't know that many BigCommerce people, and I've been in this ecosystem. I'm more Shopify, but I've been in this ecosystem for 8 years, and I know you, and I know 2 other people. So when people come into me and they do need help with BigCommerce, because I'm not an idiot. Obviously, I'm a Shopify fanboy. I love Shopify. We do that's what we do at the shop. But I understand if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail is a terrible outlook for how to use tools to solve problems for customers.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good segue, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. But I guess like what would be the more fundamental differences between BigCommerce and Shopify that a merchant needs to know?
Yeah, I think if this discussion would happen like say maybe 6 months ago or maybe 1 year ago, I would definitely say that if it is B2B, go with the BigCommerce, right? But now Shopify has released B2B as well, so it does have a good B2B functionality. But Shopify still has a bit of a pros and cons. Still needs to catch up with the variant limits and everything, even though they released it 2000 variant limit. So basically, I think BigCommerce definitely have a better discounting features, which is like automated discounts kind of thing. Like one of the biggest pain point I see some of the Shopify merchants I'm working with is the product is not getting added to the cart automatically. The free gifts, like if you want to do buy 2 get 1 free, so the free product doesn't get added automatically, right?
The bane of my existence with CRO is that specific use case,
right? So that is one of the thing, and then but other lot of other discounts available within that, and the server side card API is definitely pretty great in BigCommerce. Shopify has released something called card transform functions now recently on transform API, but it does have limitations as well. But yeah, I do think the modifiers is a great addition within BigCommerce, where you can create a rules. Let's say you are creating a product, especially in jewelry industry, where you can you have a variants like sizes and rings and this and that metal type, but then you want to do engraving feature where you want to allow let's say engraving extra cost is $100 or something. So you can create those rules within the platform without any additional app. So yeah, that is definitely a pretty great feature within BigCommerce. Yeah.
Let me ask you some questions that seem second nature to, I guess, someone that's from the Shopify world. Is there much of like a theme ecosystem? Could I get started and design something on my own, or is that a bigger lift on BigCommerce than it is on Shopify?
Yeah, I mean, as from like very true feedback would be like I think there was a bit of a lack that the developer ecosystem didn't grow very well within BigCommerce, which kind of resulted not to have like a very nice shiny themes in BigCommerce, which Shopify has it. So, but yeah, BigCommerce does have a cornerstone as a base theme, and does have pretty extensive documentation to work with the handlebars. So yeah, that is the theme. We use it whenever we are doing a custom theme development, custom theme design as well. And now they are going with the Catalyst, which is, you can say it is similar to Hydrogen React in a Shopify world, but they acquired Makeswift, which is kind of visual builder from BigCommerce side. So that is I think if someone knows React and Next.js kind of thing, so it will be easy learning curve for them to get into that, a bit more like headless e-commerce development. But yeah, if you're looking to do like a native native BigCommerce development, then yeah, go with the Stencil and Cornerstone.
Absolutely. So it is possible for someone that isn't a developer but has some technical chops to set up a store on their own?
Yeah. So they can simply go with the Cornerstone or some premium themes available as well. So there is recently, 2-3 years ago, BigCommerce launched a page builder, which is how Shopify has the sections. So you can simply do drag and drop and build your pages as well using just drag and drop feature.
Absolutely. And now, is it similar in the same vein that it's a paid SaaS tool and they take care of your SSL and your storage and hosting, and it should just work type of sense? Yeah,
it's there's definitely another good thing about BigCommerce which I like is a web dev. So it's everything like hosting is managed by BigCommerce. They also allow SSL. Of course, they have SSL, different types of SSL. Like you can just use a BigCommerce own SSL. You can also go with a third party SSL as well if you are looking for even a bit more high level SSL security. But then the another interesting feature is a web dev where you can host let's say PDF files. You want to do some bulk file transfer kind of thing. So you can it's kind of FTP where you can upload the videos, PDFs, or some other assets. So it's a pretty big size available. I think it's like a 500 MB per file size. So you can do that as well, which is, I think Shopify has a 20 MB, I believe, limit.
Yeah, getting files up on Shopify, if you need them, sometimes is a pain.
Yeah.
What about when it comes to payment processing? Does BigCommerce help you figure that out? Because it's kind of like Shop pays a couple clicks as long as you have all the stuff in place, and a merchant can figure that out.
Yeah, I think there's a pros and cons, right? Like, so BigCommerce doesn't, have it's an advantage from my perspective. If someone is looking to just use their existing payment processor, so let's say if someone is using Authorize.net or PayPal by Braintree or Stripe, so they can simply just integrate that pretty quickly as long as they have the logins of those things. So they don't have their own payment processing service, but they they're like hundreds of they integrate with like hundreds of payment processor systems. Yep.
Awesome. Is there anything else that comes to mind that's probably like useful to point out between the differences between the platforms?
Yeah, I think BigCommerce could be a little bit more tricky to learn. It does come up with a lot of features by default. Let's say the minimum quantity, the custom fields, the meta fields. They also have that as well. It's the category hierarchy, the price list, customer groups is an amazing feature in BigCommerce. With a lesser pricing tier, you don't have to go with like a very huge expensive thing. I think within a Plus, BigCommerce Plus will allow you to have a B2B and B2C side in a single website. And the another feature I will say, the MSF multi-storefront functionality. Let's say if you have one website where you are actually want to have a different region-based website or different languages. So you can you go with the one website where you have all the products, and then you can create different domains or multi-storefront functionality to have like if you have 1,000 products, you want some of the products for one brand, other products for another brand. So you can, enable, disable those things and, have a centralized tracking and order processing system. So that's pretty amazing functionality as well. And they recently acquired Feednomics, which is feed management tool. That's, let's say you want to go with the omni-channel strategy, which is pretty interesting and one of the most important aspect in e-commerce these days. So you can synchronize your catalog with Amazon or other Google channel or feed or TikTok, etc. as well.
No, that's amazing. I know because I have a cheat sheet in front of me because I do these podcasts and I ask for questions in advance. Everybody, I'm not this smart, but you're a big fan of keeping things simple, not overcomplicating the tech stack, which I am also 100% on board there. I feel like the ease of just installing an app to solve a problem on Shopify is something that I think Shopify taught merchants the wrong thing there. And I think that some things shouldn't be apps and they should just be in the platform, but they aren't. And I'll say that it sounds like there are some cooler, more useful features built into BigCommerce than that aren't in Shopify. Well, just walk me through it though. Like, do you have like any examples of how simplifying the tech stack with BigCommerce has helped clients like save time, money, improve their life? Yeah,
I think one of the example I will give it to that. Recently, I was working on a BigCommerce client. It's a pretty big brand in the US ecosystem for wedding dresses. So the idea was they were using semi-headless solution. So they were using Contentful, and where they were getting all publishing all the data, and that data was getting pushed to BigCommerce in the meta fields as a JSON. And with a very similar architecture, I worked on this thing very past, maybe a few years ago as well. So now the problem with this approach was that because the whole data was in a JSON, then you have to do like a front-end processing to convert it into the HTML. So now you are using Stencil, but then you are using JSON to then reprocessing and then showing it in an HTML. It was just not a good approach, from the front end perspective. Like it was, the time consuming. You also have to have some kind of middleware to pull the data from Contentful and push it to BigCommerce as well. And it was very time consuming. The deployment process was pretty slow as well. So then, we re-architected a few of the things over there. and made it basically go with the native BigCommerce. And then, they were paying like almost $17,000 per month for a middleware, so which they did not need it anymore. They did not need it, the Contentful as well. So just go with the standard BigCommerce. And to manage the meta fields, we went with an apps available within the BigCommerce ecosystem. I think it's around less than $100. So you can just imagine that they were paying around $25,000 per month. And then we did it like $100 per month. That's it. So that was a very big case study. Yeah.
Well, I love that story for many reasons, mostly because I've done the same thing with like Shopify.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, why did they end up in that position? Did someone oversell them on a headless solution, basically?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was, sometimes when the smaller companies, whenever the companies look for they probably want all these features, but maybe they did not want it. So the idea behind having this, going with the Contentful is that they wanted to manage multiple stores from a single content management system, and they will have a middleware to push the content across different channels. So that was the idea, but they never really went with it, So they also wanted to have the publication. Schedule the publications as well. Like BigCommerce doesn't allow you to do it currently. Let's say you want to publish the page, schedule it after in advance, in like a week advance or something. So that was one of the main reason, having a multiple instances where they can publish the content from single instance to multiple BigCommerce stores, and also have a schedule functionality. But the issue here is they never really went with it. So it was, probably then they decided, okay, well, they don't need it anymore. And then, we just went with the native BigCommerce.
I think a lot of technical choices are made by people that don't realize the implications of what they're saying. And developers, salespeople, consultants, we all need to ask, why do you think you need that feature?
Yeah.
And because BigCommerce or Shopify or whatever, I don't think any brand under 8 figures needs a headless solution. And I might die on that hill because I just think there's nothing unique about your business to where you need to spend that much money to solve for it. And there's so much functionality in these native products. And if people are like, whoa, like headless is faster, I'm like, I can show you a native store that is going to whoop anything you're going to put up because someone who built it's smart.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's definitely, a good, suggestion, I would say. So people, I would say semi-headless is never an approach should be taken. That's the one thing. If you are going with the headless, then go with the full headless. In this instance, let's say, I architected this thing after very long when the project was about to launch it. And then, we are doing a phase 2 for this. But let's say even if they wanted to have this functionality where they wanted to have, like a multiple or scheduling feature and everything, then go with the headless. Okay. Get a Contentful, get the BigCommerce, combine them together, and then, go with the headless solution. Don't go with a semi-headless, like a patch up work. So that was definitely not a recommended approach, I would say. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, so if they would have went fully headless with this build,
mm-hmm.
it wouldn't have solved for obviously the price for these SaaS apps to solve for the thing. Maybe it would have got rid of the middleware, I'm guessing. And it would have solved the problem of it loading slowly, basically, because it has to do all this transformation on the front end. But it wouldn't have still been as good of a result as what you guys ended up with when it was all said and done.
Yeah, I think it was a good, because we were using the native meta fields with the BigCommerce, which allows us to manage the e-commerce data in one place. So let's say if they're connecting other omni-channel solutions, they can simply use the main BigCommerce product data and then just connect anywhere and feed the data anywhere else they want to do it.
And there's something to be said there. And I always ask people, it's like, how big is your e-commerce team? How many people are going to be touching this stuff?
Yeah.
How many people need to log into these things? And it's more just like, I think you guys need less logins in general. There needs to be less places for you to go. I want to, as a service provider, provide you with less documentation. again, just don't overcomplicate the tech stack. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because the more weird stuff you do, the more frustrated you're going to get in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one point. Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
I guess I want to ask you about replatforming a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're probably taking on a lot of your projects. I'm sure you're doing a lot of work just within the BigCommerce ecosystem, but sometimes you're moving them from other platforms to BigCommerce. Do you have kind of like a plan to walk through when you're trying to set expectations with these merchants that you need to make these choices and need to make these changes?
Yeah, I think, the good thing about the BigCommerce is that, of course, I have done replatforming on both platforms. One thing which I definitely, would like to highlight here as well, that you can maintain your URLs in BigCommerce. For example, Shopify has a very fixed structure for collection and products and pages.
Okay, so I want to ask you, I'm pretty sure what you're saying here is that BigCommerce allows you to manipulate the URLs where Shopify doesn't, and I've had merchants get mad about that. So when you're doing a migration project from something else to Shopify, you have to set up 301 redirects for everything, but you can force the URLs within BigCommerce?
Yeah. So you can, create your own BigCommerce, the URL slugs as per the older URL structure. But also it depends on what kind of a structure you had it before. If you already had a pretty good URL structure, then you can maintain it within the BigCommerce. But if it's really bad structure, then it's recommended to just go with a clean slate and then just do the redirects. But yeah, it does allow you to do basically have the URLs as you want it.
I'm kind of a fan of Shopify's way because sometimes merchants are their own worst enemies with URL structures, and forcing them into the way that Shopify wants it and the way that Google knows how to read Shopify stores, I think has its advantage. But that's, at the end of the day, I don't think a reason to pick one platform over another. What else is kind of in this migration process?
Yeah, I think the migration, I see things going wrong in a lot of times. People doing it, definitely one of the example which I gave you earlier about the tech stack going wrong. So in terms of free platform, there is definitely need to be considered that you are migrating all your data and mapping it correctly. You are not just thinking about the products and the categories and orders or customers, but you also have to think about the coupon codes that you have given to people, the discounts that you have already in there as well. And if you have the integrations, those has to be configured correctly. A lot of time I see that if the trackings gets missed, a lot of time people actually leave the no index tag in the code, and then basically your whole site is because when you're developing it and then you are keeping it no index because you don't want that development site to be indexed in the Google, and that if that step is missed, your whole site is going to be basically not removed from Google as well. So yeah, definitely creating a checklist nicely. The idea is to it's a 3-step process for sure. Like you go with the sample data first to understand that how the data will be set up in BigCommerce or any e-commerce system in general. So basically set up a few things manually, understand that how the data will be there from older platform, for example, maybe if you're doing from WooCommerce to BigCommerce. So you may be using custom post type, you are using maybe some other apps as well, or Magento things where you're using some third party plugins. But now in a BigCommerce, it's a SaaS system. They have their own ways to manage things. Some data will go to the custom fields, some data will go to the meta fields, and how those information will be organized. So always good idea to figure it out. 5 to 10 or maybe more different types of products that you have, and then set up those things manually so that that how the information will be entered into the destination platform. And then do the full migration or do a sample migration first using the automated tool, whatever you want to do it. I don't trust them always, by the way. They always mess it up. I don't want to name them. but they're very big, automated tools available.
Don't use them.
Yeah, yeah, right. So
because it costs the same amount of money for myself or Amandeep's team to fix it.
Yeah.
Than to do it right the first time.
Yeah. So yeah, those like, it's just bad. They don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. The joke I was going to ask you was like, oh, you're telling me that you just can't copy and paste the data? I have a CSV.
Yeah. Man, this is like, especially with the B2B clients, this thing goes even much more worse as well.
Oh my God. I could only imagine, especially I know that you've done so much B2B stuff because that's where BigCommerce really had their they had a nice planting there to differentiate them historically. Yeah, it's a lot of education when I'm talking to merchants around CSVs and no, it's not a quick copy and paste thing, and no, it's not simple, and no, it's not going to be right the first time, and no, we can't get it done next week.
Yeah, I'll name a few tools which could be helpful, for the existing BigCommerce, people, merchants. One is a bctools.io. It's a good tool where you can actually, extract a lot of data. Like, so of course, native BigCommerce allows you to import, export a lot of things. But if something is not possible by native BigCommerce, then you can use this thing, bctools.io. And another one is a DevArt. It's an Excel plugin, which is very interesting approach. So you can, if you're an Excel expert, I'm not an Excel expert, by the way, but I have used it pretty often, where you can install this plugin and it will connect to BigCommerce using V3 API. And then you can pull all the data in your spreadsheets. You can modify it and then just push it from the spreadsheet itself. And you don't have to do any import export at all. And they have Excel plugin available for Shopify as well. And yeah, it's amazing tool as well.
Yeah, it's so funny how much of what we do in the e-commerce ecosystem is figuring stuff out with a spreadsheet.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working with a merchant who they have like there's a drop shipping company. They have like almost 50 vendors, and they pull all the data from 50 vendors and then push it to the BigCommerce website. It's interesting that how much they still have to deal with the product information, because every vendor has its own way of putting the information and everything. So even though they have a middleware to pull the data, but they still have to, rectify some of the data inaccuracies and then push it to BigCommerce. So yeah.
I mean, they should use AI to do that. Like, that is such a cool use case, and you should sell them on that.
Yeah, I'm actually building. So we did actually create a tool for them where now they just simply upload a file and then it reformats as per the format they needed, and then upload it to BigCommerce. But yeah, I think AI is another good thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used AI to do, like, I'm like, this is what the data is going to look like. This is what I need it to look like, and it is scary how well it does.
Wow, man, that's interesting. I just saw some of the videos like that, like how they say create dummy data in a tabular format, but it's amazing. That's nice.
So a good buddy of mine, Kurt Elster from the Unofficial Shopify podcast, he built out, and I think I might be able to find. He may have a video of him doing this, but he built a plugin that goes into Google Sheets that hits his ChatGPT API, and he quickly made more search engine optimized titles and descriptions for his clients' products.
Wow.
Once he built the script, it just ran the script, and then they uploaded all the new updated, better search engine optimized titles. And it probably took him, a week to build the script and the prompt and make it all work, but then to run it for one client took an hour.
Wow, man, that's an interesting use case, actually. Yeah, I never really did that. I think whenever it comes to the AI, we are doing a lot of product recommendation kind of things. Like we did a hackathon with the BigCommerce, like a product recommendation on that side of things. And we're doing like contextual search, like a context-based search, like a general human search query, and then finding a products like that. But yeah, this is amazing use case especially for B2B people as well. Yeah, who are doing this and thing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've had so much fun chatting with you today. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
No, I think, yeah, basically the idea is, every platform has its own pros and cons. But I will say, it's not like, okay, BigCommerce is always a winner. But the idea is like, listen to, go through your requirements, in more detail, like what you want, what is your goal for next 3-5 years as is, and then choose a platform. That's what I will definitely recommend it. There's definitely pros and cons. Each platform has its own drawbacks.
Awesome. If someone is out there and they actually need help with BigCommerce, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our website domain name is cronixweb.com, and then definitely reach out to us. We are actually do provide a free discovery as well for the analysis of the platforming or CRO audits kind of thing. So we can help with that. I hope well, basically we have around a limited 10 to 15 seats where we do audits. So, but yeah, we are happy to help with that, and we'll see how those BigCommerce or other platforms can help with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Chase. Appreciate it.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestycommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.